Hang out.
You guys, welcome to Get the You Factor.
Right. Cool. Alright, got 17 seconds.
Hello there. Howdy how. Packed room today.
Yes, sir.
Hot in Sacramento.
See one of those flyers?
Our guest speaker brought the heat.
Thank you, sir.
3, 2, adios.
Welcome to Get the You Factor with Mike Driggers and Nicholas Fordham. What is it that holds you from achieving greatness? Does greatness just come to those that are struck by lightning or have just hit that lucky streak? What really does make people achieve everything they want out of life? These questions span across the globe as millions of people settle into their life thinking that they don't have what it takes to truly get what they want out of life. Simply put, most people just give up on their dreams and aspirations to move forward with their repetitious habits that have been cemented around their lifestyle. Is this because they don't have what it takes to achieve their goals? The answer is no. You do have what it takes to accomplish anything you truly desire, and it starts with finding your inner you. With Get the You Factor, we go step by step in educating you on the key principles to achieve anything you want out of life. By tapping into our resources and following along with our weekly broadcast, we will guide you through a journey of self-awareness and self-improvement. We will take you deep into your mind to determine what your mental blocks are that are holding you back from your true potential. You do have what it takes, and we are here to help you prove it to yourself. So, where'd you go this last weekend, Mike?
Actually, this weekend I took advantage of just working from home. I didn't go anywhere actually this weekend. I just kind of
homebody.
I know, for the first time.
That's like the first of the show.
Well, you know, the thing is I've been working on several new websites for myself. My new book just came out with Barbara Corcoran. I co-authored out of 200 authors. They picked the top 21 authors, and I was one of them to be able to co-author this book with Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank.
Now, Barbara Corcoran, she's the very witty lady on Shark Tank, has the short hair, and she always makes the really strong decisions. I think that's phenomenal. I mean, you know, people across the nation know who Barbara Corcoran is, and of course know who you are now, and congratulations.
Yeah, and actually, if you look at her story, she got straight D's in high school, and she had gone to college and went through 20 jobs by the time she had turned 23.
Really?
Yeah, and then her next job, the 24th job, is what set her on her path to be a billionairess in the real estate world. So, but yeah, so it was an honor. They called me and picked me out of all these other authors, and so I was one of 21 that could talk about entrepreneurship and what it takes, the mindset of being an entrepreneur. And so I was glad to take advantage of it. Now the book's in the bookstores and on Amazon and everywhere else. So
awesome. So for those of you that are listening, that the name of the book is Entrepreneur on Fire, Inspiring Millions. On the top it says Conversations with Visionary Leaders. I'll show it here in the camera. So for those of you that are watching online at GettheYouFactor.com, you can see kind of behind the scenes of our radio show. And definitely go out there, get the book, and you know, read the inspiration that's inspiring millions. Absolutely.
So, you know, they're just starting to roll out my other one, which we always read the affirmation. Getting the website and the videos up for that one. That's what I was working on this weekend. And then I was in the final stages of Managing Your Commitment, the book I'm co-authoring with Rick Chavez, Doing What You Said You'd Do Long After You Said You Would Do It. So a lot of really good things have been happening, and it just kind of all the stars are lining up, and I'm being blessed and highly favored. That's for sure. So
man, you're gonna get me on fire. I was in the pool all weekend dealing with the heat.
I was creating it so you could relax. So there you go. How was your week, though?
You know, it was good. I had a great week. Got some really cool new contacts. One of the ladies that I just started working with, I believe for 29 years, she's been the founder of Women of Color Day. And she's doing some phenomenal things, and she's actually changing her momentum with her business to really go after some greater heights. And so she's asked me to help her in creating the membership area of her website and really promote what it is that she started strong.
Well, that's awesome. That's you were telling me a little bit, and she's like one of those special members to a club. What was the club called?
Yeah, you never guess. I mean, it's this, this little old lady and well, young lady, but when you start talking to her, she gets really deep into your mind, and you're like, wow, where did that come from? And and I find out that she's a member of Mensa. And for those of you that don't know Mensa, it's a very high level society that you really are invited to even know about it, be a part about it, and it's something all of us, I'm sure, are already a part of in some way.
Absolutely, one way or another, right? High IQs.
So what we're going to do now is, like we do every week, we're going to read the positive affirmation for the week. And again, this is out of the book, Mastering the Mindset, The Power of Affirmations with Mr. Mike Driggers. And remember, with the affirmation, what you're going to want to do is recite it to yourself 3 times a day for the entire week. You're going to want to recite it to yourself in front of the bathroom in the morning as you're getting ready. As you park your car, when you get to your destination, in your rearview mirror, and maybe during the evening as you're walking by a hallway mirror, recite that affirmation to you. What it does is it implants it into your subconscious, and then you start thinking about it without even thinking about it. So today's affirmation is, I can stand up for my beliefs in the face of opposition. Again, I can stand up for my beliefs in the face of opposition. Even if I face opposition, I stand firm in my convictions and self-awareness. I know why I have the beliefs I do, and why I am adhering to them is important to me. I'm aware that a challenge only helps to prove whether or not my values are really true to me. If others ever claim to know what is right for me, I remain strong enough to stay true to myself. I'm assured that conviction leads to respect, respect of self, as well as respect from others. And as I increase my self-confidence, I am better able to trust others to act in accordance with their highest good. My values are well thought out and are true to my highest vision of myself. They come from a place where I am deeply aware of what makes me happy. My beliefs are tied into my conscience, so they allow me to feel at peace at the end of each day. I know that even in the most challenging circumstances, things can only get better if I stick to my convictions. Not standing for something means falling for anything, so I choose to stay firmly on my feet. Today, I commit to owning and embracing my values, even in the face of opposition. I treat my intuition about right and wrong as I do anything that is dear to my heart. I stand strong and defend my beliefs because I know they come from an honest place.
So as usual, we want you to walk away with this affirmation, but there's 3 self-reflection questions that I wrote in the book that I want you to think about and how this applies into your life. And the first question is, in what ways could entertaining opposition, oops, look at that, we got
some music going on.
I'm telling you, hey, technical difficulty. I'm bringing up our guest speaker's website. So, but again, let me start over. So question number 1, in what ways could entertaining opposition of my values serve as food for thought? Number 1, in what ways could entertaining opposition of my values serve as food for thought? Number 2, how much influence do my experiences have on my beliefs? Again, number 2, how much influence do my experience have on my beliefs? And then number 3, do the convictions I learn from my family play a part in what I believe? Number 3, do the convictions I learn from my family play a part in what I believe? And do these values serve me? So again, as we do, we talk about the quote for the week, and you think about how this quote applies to your life, and along with the affirmation and their self-reflection. So the quote today is, I value inner peace above the approval of others. Again, author unknown on that, but I value inner peace above the approval of others. So we're up for a great show today. Today's topic is self-help tips to spice up your life. And Folks, we have got probably one of the most dynamic speakers that I have come across in a while, a gentleman that I've known, and every time I see him, he's just full of energy. He's like a burst of just great goodness, or just pouring out of this gentleman. And he's got a strong background in social media management and helping companies go to the next level to expose and brand, but he's also a keynote speaker, teacher in philosophy of life, and what a perfect speaker to have with us today. And if everybody could do me a favor and welcome to the show our good friend Victor Irving Jenkins.
Welcome, welcome.
Crowd goes wild. How you doing, sir? Go on, let's hear it.
I'm better than I was, but I'm not nearly as good as I'm going to be. How you doing, Mike?
I am fantastic and improving, that's for sure. We're enjoying having you here. So today we've got a topic that I know is right up your alley. Why don't you tell the folks a little bit more about you and what you do and your background, and you've got a keynote event that you're coming up, and we're going to talk about that later on in the show, and how people can get tickets to this event here in Sacramento. But kind of share with people who is Victor Irving Jenkins? What is you?
And a bit about the live broadcast and how you brought that.
Yeah.
Really
Bring it
looking
on.
in that.
You're twisting my hand. So I'm not really sure how I got bitten by this bug, but some time ago I got bitten by the bug to improve myself, right?
Awesome.
And I started reading Napoleon Hill, and I was listening to Anthony Robbins and a lot of the gurus that we all know, the self-help individuals, right?
Right.
And Les Brown. One of the things that they said was to get a phrase, to get something that was peculiarly you. And so I started thinking about some of the things that I could say, some of the things that could be my tagline, and I ended up with better than I was and not as good as I'm going to be. Now, for me, I've always wanted to touch the most amount of people every time.
Sure.
Now, whatever it is that you're thinking about or whatever it is that you're talking about, you're going to reach a certain segment of the population. So what I sought to do was to get a saying that would touch as many people as often as possible. So when somebody asked me how I was doing, I instinctively said I was better than I was, but I'm not as good as I'm going to be. The philosophy behind choosing that is this: it is impossible to keep doing anything and not get better at it.
Absolutely.
No matter what it is, if you keep doing it, you're going to get better at it. That thing could be riding a bicycle, that thing could be kissing a girl, it could be doing anything, but you get better at it. And if that thing happens to be living life, you're going to get better at living life as well.
Absolutely.
I also took that and combined it with the notion that words are a big deal. Words are important.
They are.
We as humans are the most powerful force in the universe, and whatever it is that we say, whatever it is that we declare, we have to have the ability to make that come true. So when people ask you how you doing, if you respond, oh, I'm so-so, or, well, I'm kind of okay, or it's new day, same crap, when you respond like that, you are sending a message to the subconscious you. So when you send that kind of message to the subconscious you, well, then it embeds itself and it becomes reality. So if I'm going to send a message to me, and if my words are going to be important,
absolutely,
then I'm going to say I'm better than I was, and I'm not as good as I'm going to be. And people who have known me over the years, they can tell you that I truly am better than I used to be. But I'm not as good as I'm going to be. And you know what? Even though I'm better than I was, I continually improve. When you see me 6 weeks from now, 6 months from now, it's going to be different. Now, one thing I don't kind of get is numbers. Now, for instance, when I see that, am I thinking seconds, or am I thinking?
you got a little time. Keep rolling.
Right. So I was fortunate. I ran into this mantra, right? Because, you know, people tell you that thoughts are things, right? And nobody really makes it clear to you how thoughts are things, and nobody can really tell you the ABCs of how do you leverage the fact that thoughts are things. So there's this little thing that I read it. It was led to me. So I'm going to share it with the audience if it's okay with you, because it got to do with thinking, right?
Absolutely.
Now, this is so deep. It's so deep that some people that hear it is going to just walk out the room, and other people that hear it is going to land like bam, right?
It's going to hit them square in the
Get
eyes.
this, right? There is a thinking stuff.
A thinking stuff.
Of which everything is made.
Okay.
And in its original state, it permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe.
I love
I
it.
love it.
A thought in this substance produces the thing that's imaged by the thought. Now, see, man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought against this formless substance, he can cause the thing that he thinks about to be created.
Absolutely.
Now, in order to do this, man must first pass from the competitive to the creative mind. He must form a clear mental picture of the things that he wants and hold that picture in his thoughts with the fixed purpose to get what he wants, unwavering in his mind that he does get what he wants, closing his mind to all that would tend to dim his vision, shake his purpose, or quench his faith.
Sure.
And if that wasn't enough on top of everything else, then man has to do things in a certain way. Man, you know something, man, you just want to say hallelujah after hearing something like that, don't you?
You brought me back, man. You know, immediately what came to my mind is, you know, I read a lot, and when I was younger, I mean, I read Cat in the Hat, right? And so immediately I started thinking about Thing 1 and Thing 2. And if you remember that story, I read it to my daughter, right? And there's these two kids that they're just sad. They're upset. The day's just gone away. And they're like, what are we going to do today? And then all of a sudden appears Thing 1 and Thing 2. And what do? They pull out the creativity, and here comes Cat in the Hat, and it's the wildest journey that they've ever had because they created it with their own creativity.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
People don't really get how much they're really creating their life as they go along. And the tough thing that many people don't want to admit, people that's not having a good time, they don't want to admit the fact that whatever it is that they're getting, they're bringing it.
Sure.
But I can assure you that whatever I've gotten in my life, I have brought it. And for the last several months, I've been on this. I ain't so surprised that I'm on your show.
You've just been waiting.
I ain't so surprised I'm on your show. And you know, other things is going to happen as well.
Absolutely.
Because
You manifest it.
I'm a landing field for that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And the people that are listening, they're landing fields as well. You don't have to embrace that. There are certain principles that you don't have to embrace, but they're going to be true anyway because, man, what you think about, you sure enough bring about. Because I've been telling you, I've been better than I was for so long, and
Every
let
day
me put it
you're
this
improving.
oh, really? Okay, here's what happened. On January 17th, I was 300 pounds.
I know.
And I was 300 pounds.
You lost weight.
And every time somebody said something to me, I said I was better than I was, and I'm not as good as I'm going to be, man. And he told you, I'm always fired up when you see me. I'm always telling you, you can do this, you can do that, man. You're the greatest. And I said all these things, right? And in the back of my mind, and that little man, you weigh 300 pounds. Ain't nobody paying no attention to you. But I kept saying it. All my good friends, you know, they got sick of hearing me say I'm better than I was and not as good as I'm going to be. But I said it anyway, and I kept saying it. And another thing that I had done, is I swore off diets. I said, you know what? I'm through with diets. I did all the diet and I did all the exercise. And I just couldn't get to where I was wanting to go, right?
Sure.
So since I had sworn off diet, and I am the most powerful force in the universe, right?
Yep.
So I had to make that a reality. And since I said I was better than I was and not as good as I'm going to be, something had to happen so that I could be less than 300 pounds and still be all those things that I said were true.
Absolutely.
And something happened. I found a way in 56 days, I dropped 49.3 pounds, and the people who knew me, guess what? They started to believe that I was better than I was, and not as good as I'm going to be.
Determined destination, decline devastation, make no hesitation in mental recreation. Go after it.
Exactly. You know, we're going to go to commercial break, but before we do, as you walked up, I saw you walking up, and I go, man, I think that's him. And I didn't recognize you because it'd been a couple months since I seen you, but I saw, no, that was him. And we were busy talking to someone that was trying to get us to fill out a survey. But, yeah, you can definitely see the change, and congratulations. Now, folks, we're going to go to a commercial break, as I said, here at Get the You Factor and One Talk Network and One Music Network. And when we get back, we're going to be talking about the tips to spice up your life with self-help, things to help you focus and grow in change as you manifest, as you said. So we'll be back from commercial break. Talk to you soon. And we're still live on the live cam.
Yep. So the camera keeps going behind the scenes. Man, you came in with a ball of energy.
I told you.
I love it.
Hey, I had to turn it down, man. that was a little.
Country music?
I
Tim McGraw song.
Oh, really? I know Tim McGraw. I've heard one or two of his songs, but I don't listen to him regularly. So tell me about that song.
Well,
I love Tim McGraw song. Well, I'm a country boy, so.
Yeah. There's
it
a...
says exactly that. I'm better than I was, but not as good as I'm.
No, he doesn't.
Oh.
No, he doesn't.
No.
He knows somebody who. He knows somebody who.
Let's see.
You should go after him.
Better than I used to be.
He knows somebody who knows me.
That's it.
How old was the song?
2013.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. He knew somebody.
He knew somebody who
knew
knows
you.
me. 'Cause that's mine. I own
The
that.
second to the last word was different, so you're okay.
Well, see,
There's actually a couple country artists. There's another artist that has a song similar.
Well, you know, it's a problem. As I said,
Maybe it could be your thing.
There you go.
If
Mhm.
I'm gonna listen to it when I get
There you
home.
go.
Of course, he'll charge me money once everybody else starts
Huh.
starts linking the song to me.
Well, my taglines, and when I close out, is inspire, motivate, and encourage others, and success will manifest within your life. That's
People need tools, man. People,
Absolutely.
people want, and they just don't know. And you know, something. I'll just have this conversation on the air, but I'll start it here. The things that people get told
Yeah.
sometimes lead them in the wrong direction.
Yep.
And people who are into blame, they'll try to blame the person that told them or blame the book that they read, right? But at the end of the day, you choose what you believe.
Absolutely.
So you can't really blame anybody for nothing that you chose to
Well,
believe.
that's I saw a recent quote from Darren Hardy, the publisher of Success Magazine. And actually, I'll
Success.
probably bring it up on the show, but he talks about that, our negatives.
Welcome back to Get the You Factor with Mike Driggers and Nicholas Fordham. You know, today's topic is self-help tips to spice up your life, and we've got a firepower of energy and excitement, Mr. Victor Irvin
glowing
Jenkins.
aura.
And we were talking a little bit before about, just before we were on the break, and we were talking about people that, they just take on that negative energy and they hold it to them. And I think it was you, Mike, you were talking about one time about this bucket. And, you can fill the bucket up with nice, clean, fresh water, or you can fill it up with muddy water.
Yep.
And people decide a lot of times to mix their bucket up.
Yep.
They decide they don't want that clean water all the time. But if you decide with a muddy bucket to start filling it with clean water, guess what happens? All the muddy water leaves.
All the good, clean, crystal clear water comes through, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, which is one of the founding principles, to start spicing up is first understanding that, as you were saying, positive thoughts and things control your life. So controlling your thoughts is just this first part of what you were talking about is all about that, controlling your thoughts, right? What you think. If you think you can't do something, guess what? You're right. You can't. If you think you can, you will, and you can, right? It's all what we put into our minds, but, controlling your thoughts is probably the most critical part to, one, getting that track to self-help. Start feeding your mind with that positive energy and, thoughts of manifesting things in your life that you want. I mean, you, for yourself, you thought, I'm going to lose this weight, because you had that chatter in the back of your mind. And I've heard that chatter before, right? I've been there. I get it. And then you set out and do something with it. But you then, what did you do to help lose all that weight? What was some of the practices and the things that you started doing?
Well, the actual the way I lost the weight was very simple, but getting to that point and believing that it could really happen, that was a big deal.
And seeing.
Yeah, as I told you, I swore off diets.
Right.
And my bestie, my best friend, he came to me and told me about this treatment that decided that obesity actually is a disease rather than just something you get from overeating. We all think that if we eat too much, we get fat, and we know other people, and that's what they think.
I thought I got Dunlap disease, where I Dunlapped over my belt buckle.
I'm gonna bring in my big old tire fan for you.
But we all know people that eat anything they want,
Yeah.
and they don't get big, so it must be another story. So
Absolutely.
anyway, he called me up after a couple of weeks of telling me about this thing and said that, Bestie, it's been 2 weeks and I lost 17 pounds. Well, now I want to hear about what he's talking about. So he told me what he was talking about. I got wind of what he was talking about, and before you knew it, I was on the train where I was losing a pound just about every day. And what was exciting about what he told me is it wasn't a deal where you're going to come back 6 months later and get bigger than what you were. It was helping to eliminate the actual disease itself. And then once that happened, the big deal began, because the weight loss is just part of the real deal.
Right.
The real deal is transformation, see? The real deal is transformation, because the person that you are in between your ears,
Yep.
that's the person that the rest of us sees.
Yep.
Now, you don't have to tell us what you're thinking about. We can tell what you're thinking about from what we're seeing.
Absolutely. Your
Case in-
actions.
Case in point. You guys know I got a company. We do live internet broadcasting,
Yep.
and we do video production.
Sure.
Now, how many times you think I've ran into people who tell me, Victor, I don't look good on video. Some of you,
They're all
might
afraid
be
of the
some people
camera.
in this room, right? But now, if the rest of us are looking at your mug and we're not throwing up,
Yeah.
well, good Lord, why can't you look at your own mug?
Exactly.
So I can relate to them, because there was a time when I didn't think I was the savoir-faire smooth guy that you see in the front. I haven't always thought this.
Right.
But here's what happened. I told you I've been studying and reading and wanting to be better and better than I was, not as good as I'm going to be. Well, I've been doing all that, and then I had that feeling. I said, it can't be anything wrong.
Right.
My nose must be okay. It's got to be something else. So then I reasoned that it wasn't what I was looking like. It had to be what I was thinking. And when you go back to childhood, if we haven't actively gone in our spiritual person, in our subconscious mind, and dug out all the garbage that people put in there, like put that down, like your big head, like you look like your daddy, get out of here. If we haven't pulled those things out, then we still got them. And if we still got those things, there's a little nagging message that says that we don't love ourselves.
Yep.
It's a mental block.
So if you don't love yourself, then you're not going to treat yourself right, and you're going to think that you look funny. You're going to think that your voice is there. So I've always been really aggressive about things. I got one of them addictive personalities, and I just kind of jump into it.
Sure.
So then I think, some kind of, I got to deal with this thing right here. So what I did is I bought me a silver counter. A lap counter? A silver lap counter?
Okay, yeah.
Right?
The lap for laps.
Right. And
okay.
while I was hanging out at the house, right, at least 100 times every day, I would go, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And I did that every day. I kept saying, I love myself. And as I said earlier, I might be speaking loud, but I'm also speaking to myself.
Absolutely.
So that subconscious guy inside of there that's getting the message that this guy loves himself, all of a sudden, I didn't look too bad on video.
Oh, you looking good.
All of a
Positive
sudden,
affirmations.
I didn't sound too bad
Nope.
on video. In fact, when I first made that transition, I got a website where all I did was take other people's book and read the book from cover to cover and made it available so other people can hear the audio book.
Wow.
So it was phenomenal. So anybody out there who, and I'm looking to give you tools. You're listening to this show, you ought to get something out of it. If you are not totally blown out of your skull about seeing yourself on camera, if you don't just love the sound of your voice, if you don't love your body, then get you a counter
And tell
and
yourself.
start going through that motion. I love myself. I love myself. Yeah, and you could be laughing right now, but just like they was laughing when I said better than I was and not as good as I'm going to be, well, you know what? Who's laughing now?
Yeah, exactly.
Right now, at the point I am now, I'm having to to fight to shut up because this ain't my show.
It is your show. Bring it on.
That's what I love
It's
about
not
your
Sunday,
story.
but it's close to it. Bring it on.
You know, you just, what you did is, you know, you just decided all of a sudden that I'm not going to do diets anymore.
Yep.
The first 3 letters in the word diets is what? Right?
Die.
You know, so you're like,
Exactly.
forget that. You know, it's one of those things where it's going to be a roller coaster. It's always a roller coaster. And your buddy brought up the thought and the notion of, you know, a mental change and a positive focus. And I love the fact that you brought in the positive affirmations with it, because you went in, you took hold of that current moment. You decided, okay, I'm not going to let somebody else on a TV show or somebody over here on some radio show, or wherever it may be, tell me what I need to do for myself. I'm going to do it for myself. I'm going to take and make my mental change and declare right now that I'm going to change. For the good, for the better. I'm better than I was yesterday, and I'm not as good as I'm going to be tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love it.
You know, it's funny because once you identify that change and you take action, right, life itself starts throwing in all these obstacles, right? And I'm sure that through that process, you know, telling yourself, I love myself, I love myself. Like one of the affirmations I've been using for myself is my weight is coming off easily, freely, and often.
That's why you brought me here, buddy.
Because I'm telling you, all right?
I'm here.
There you go. But life puts those obstacles in front of you, those decisions. It challenges you. You say, I'm going to lose weight, then there's that chocolate cake in front of you, right? You say, oh, I'm going to eat good. I'm going to eat fruit today. And here comes this barbecue chicken and ribs or whatever, right? It's you're challenged by life, and you have to beat that. You have to get through those negative challenges. And you know, Darren Hardy talks about this. There was a quote he had just recently. He says our negatives are like photographs. They're negatives before we develop them. Right, so you got into a situation where now you're developing into this mind that I love myself, and because I do, I look good, and everything starts radiating from there. The weight starts falling, your attitude, your personality, and you found that source of that personal happiness because you started feeling that you loved yourself, which a lot of people don't do.
Yep.
A lot of people, they have those insecurities. And I love that, the counter, the silver counter, you know, click 1, 2, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. You know, make sure you're doing that in a room where not too many people are around. They may think you're a bit wild if you're at a restaurant. They're like, okay, who's this guy, right? But go on.
What I decided, and I did a video to say this, right? Imagine, isn't that such a great word? Imagine, right? To those, you know, because there's some people that think it's silly to do it, and that's okay, but I don't want you to lose it because it feels silly, but this is even sillier, but this might be easier to manage. Imagine, right, that the person in the mirror is the real person. And imagine that that person in the mirror has nothing better to do than what you tell him to do. And then you get in the front of the mirror and you look deep into that person's eyes and you just tell him, I love you, right? I am the man. I'm 44 inches in the chest, and I weigh 200 pounds. I rock the house. And those of you in the studio, you can see that I've been doing that. Right?
For a while, yeah.
You can see that I've been doing that, right?
It's conviction.
So if you could get yourself to believe that the person in the mirror is actually your subconscious mind that nobody can put their finger on, if that thing is really your subconscious mind, and just pretend that you're speaking to your subconscious mind, because your subconscious mind, and you don't know if you ever heard this before, but your subconscious mind is dumb as a rock. You know what I mean by it's dumb as a rock? It'll believe anything you tell him.
Exactly.
You tell him long enough, it'll believe it, and you won't have to tell him all over and over. You just tell him that, and he go, okay, and he'll do it.
And it'll believe. Right.
Now, I got a question for you. We're going to go to break here shortly, so I'll have you answer when we get back from break. But as you were going through that transformation process, you know, a lot of things I'm sure were changing in your life all around you. You started to get in this positive mindset, this positive momentum, this positive energy, and then it was emanating from you. And so my question for you when we get back from the break is, how did you see people start to change around you? Were they magnetized to you? Did life around you completely to change during your transformation?
Okay, I guess we're on break now.
We're going to break.
We're going to answer that
Here
after
on-
the break, so we'll see you guys here in a second here at Get the You Factor on One Talk Network, affiliate of One Music Network. On break.
This is
You got to leave them hanging, you know?
this is great fun.
This is
It
fun,
is.
huh?
Yeah.
I love that. Garth Brooks, that was the song? It was from
Tim
Garth-
McGraw.
Tim McGraw.
Tim
Thank you.
McGraw.
I'm going to tease you when we come back.
So one
Tim
of the
McGraw's
things
taking
that,
it.
What's the purpose of being here today?
That's right.
That Mike's going to be heading up here down the road in the radio station. We were kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
As a success network, a motivation network.
So we're
So
gonna have
versus just a show, there's possibilities of expanding a little
where
further.
you would have your own show. You put your own stuff on here.
In fact, I'm doing a show every Friday morning on my channel called The Obesity Show. It's a 30-minute show, and I'm
Really?
because I'm really into the solution for obesity, and you know the business world right now. So many people are at the mercy of auto shipping,
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
and really auto shipping. It might be a nice concept, but for weight, I mean really, if your business depends on fat people ordering your product, do you want less fat people or more fat people? More fat people. So do you really have a vested interest for them not being fat? Not typically. So
I'm big loving.
so you know,
I carry
on
a
my
ca- I have
on
a
my
six-pack,
show,
just hiding under the cage. That's all.
on my show, I talk about the actual process that I use to do this. And I mean, I was so touched, moved, and inspired. I started a business called Ezekiel's Way. And so what I do is I tell people specifically, this ain't no network marketing, this ain't no business. I'm looking for people who are interested in putting obesity in their rearview mirror.
There you go.
Because I can put it in the rearview mirror.
There you go. And have it dragged from the back of the car. We
got
don't need it.
I've got a video.
Get rid of it.
I just posted on Facebook. I want to pull it up and show it to you because it's kind of what you were talking about. But it's like a fun video here. It's if all animals were fat.
If all animals, this is
Yeah.
on your Facebook?
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
It's funny.
Look like they can't do anything.
Huh.
It wouldn't be fat for long.
So when we come back, let's recap on the first, because we've talked.
We've got the
We're now here. He's maintaining good health,
Yep.
This is the
which is
cheetah.
perfect for what he's saying. So we'll bring back these topics, and then go into his question. How we looking?
About 35 seconds.
Okay.
a little video you could throw up on there, you know.
He's just hungry.
Oh, I gotta get that from you.
What a
Yeah.
blessing today.
Yeah,
We've been blessed and highly favored today.
absolutely.
20 seconds.
You can't even bite nobody. Look.
I'll have to check that out.
It's hilarious.
Oh, that.
You know, it's just like a fun
Hey,
kind of
listen,
cartoon
it's,
character.
It's hilarious under one condition:
What's that?
if you're not fat.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not fat, you mad.
I just big bone.
All right.
Big loving. Oh, go.
Welcome back to Get the You Factor with Mike Triggers and Nicholas Fordham. And, you know, today we're talking about how to spice up your life. And, you know, we've got some interesting topics we're talking about with Mr. Victor Irving Jenkins. And he's talking about, you know, positive affirmations and really talking to yourself in a positive light. And we've brought up in a couple of the shows Dr. Emoto, who did the study on frozen water, and he put water in one room, and he said nothing but negative stuff to the water, and then water in the other room and said positive stuff to the water. And they looked at it through a microscope, and the water with the negative affirmations, it was completely broken down. But the
was
water
all
with the
gross,
positive
ugly.
affirmations, it was perfect, like
Crystal
snowflakes.
beautiful.
And so it's amazing the power of words and positive affirmations and how, like you said, your subconscious is dumb as a rock. You can tell it whatever you want.
Well, and that's the thing. It's going to believe it.
It is.
So why don't you fill it with good information, right? The power of words is what we're talking today.
And what you did is you focused on maintaining good health, and you focused on maintaining a good energy and good life about yourself, and really that's the very next topic in the workbook that goes with today's show.
It's,
You know, you followed right to the T.
Yeah, it's focusing on maintaining good health is the next tip. that they talk about, which is played right into what you were doing. So you made the decision, you took action, which was the second. You found sources of personal happiness because you started believing and seeing, and now you focus on maintaining good health. From here on out, you're doing things, you're still practicing. It's not like you stopped, right?
Right.
You're still going.
Yes.
And then you discover the works, you know, that were meant for you, what worked for you, right? And so now it's starting to come through, and you're starting to see. And like I said, I didn't even recognize you. But as we went to break, you had asked him a story, which I think is or a question, not so much a story. You wanted to hear the story, but you'd asked him the question, which I think this is good, is because as you started to change, did you see people changing with you? How did they change, for good or bad, around you?
I actually started attracting different people in my life.
Isn't that amazing?
And the people that was problematic started to disappear from my life. I joined an organization called Toastmasters.
Yep.
Ever since I was a little boy, they used to call me Mouth Almighty.
Mouth Almighty.
And they weren't trying to be complimentary when they called me Mouth Almighty. They just wanted me to shut up. And so for a lot of my life, I struggled with talking. I struggled from one day, depending on the people I met. If somebody told me I talked too much, the following day I'd be quiet. If somebody asked me that day, you know, why are you so quiet? The next day I'd be talking. So I'd go from one extreme to the other because I was uncomfortable with being called Mouth Almighty. So as I began to undergo this transformation, start doing things a little differently, and started understanding that, hey, you know something, maybe it's okay to enjoy talking a lot, I was brought to an organization like Toastmasters where everybody in Toastmasters love running their mouth.
Sure.
People join Toastmasters for a number of reasons, but the number one reason that they join Toastmasters is because they want to run their mouth.
Exactly.
So,
They got a story to share. They want to talk.
and then I was led to this company whose platform was video email. The company's platform was video email, but the company did so many other things, and as far as I could tell, it was the latest, greatest thing.
Sure.
Right?
The technology.
Well,
everything,
I wasn't really getting there, telling people I had the latest, greatest thing, because everybody thought that they had the latest, greatest thing.
Sure.
So I was brought the piece of my life that I really needed, and that was somebody who knew what I needed to know, and somebody that I would listen to.
Sure.
So right away, you know, it wasn't my wife, right? Because nobody listens to their wife. But I was led to this lady. Her name is Jo Grace, and her and I put a business together. First time I ever actually did an S corporation. Her and I did it together, and then we came up with a name called Crave the Spotlight. Both of us kind of enjoyed speaking. Both of us enjoyed the business world, so we came up with the name Crave the Spotlight. We decided that we wanted to be the premier company that did live internet broadcasting in Sacramento, California. And so by bringing her into my space, I brought a whole lot of other people into my space. I brought networking groups into my space. So as I began to think different things, then I began to bring different people. And the people who I brought into my world, they didn't know the old me.
Sure.
So all they knew was the new me, the me that I am right now. And the me that I am right now is a lot more attractive than the old me was.
Sure.
So in answer to the question, how do people start treating me? How do people treat me differently? People started to treat me like I was the guy you see before you now.
Right.
But the interesting aspect of that is I wasn't yet the guy that you see before you now. But they would treat me that way, which helped me get the way that I am further and further and further. And since I was telling myself all this stuff anyway, you know, I was selling everybody around me, because the person that I was telling myself that I was, the people around me saw that person.
Yeah.
But inside here, I'm still thinking, am I that person?
You are.
So as you make the decision to start speaking who you are in your subconscious mind, that guy will show up. And this treatment I was talking about just now, it had to show up.
Sure.
When you are in that space, that person that you are in your mind, the person you are in your mind has to turn up if you keep him there.
Well, if you fill it up, there's no choice.
Right, he has to be there. And the only thing that will get in your way is this nagging fear, which may be the next segment we'll talk about, panic attacks, because I had an 8-year period where I was just afraid. And every time I got on an airplane, it showed its ugly face, man. But I was just afraid, man.
You were feared that four-letter word.
It's funny you say that because I'm a Virgo, and so sometimes I'm too much of a perfectionist. in
Where
the
do you
things that I
go?
do. And so when I first started getting into my career and doing websites and stuff like that, I had gone 3-4 years before I actually went and put a website online. And then further down the road, I was selling Yellow Pages. And I remember my boss at the time, his name was David Sisson. The guy was a firecracker. He was wild. I'd sell a big spine or a front cover on the Yellow Pages or whatever it was, and he'd yell in the phone, "Woo! You did it! You did it!" He's a moment of silence. All right, now strike it while the iron's hot, right? But he taught me one thing because I came to him. I said, "David, I'm a young guy. I'm 20 years old. I'm 34 now, and
You're still a pup.
I'm still a pup.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had this fear that I was too young to sell something to somebody.
Huh.
And I didn't know enough to put a website on the internet. And I was afraid to step into my reality because it was something that, like you were saying, I had to tell it a bunch of times and prove that I got enough people to agree with me before I agreed with myself.
Absolutely. You were being tempered, I guess, prepared. Like you Marine. Were you a Marine?
No, I wasn't
Well,
Marine. I was in a military family.
Okay. Like you see those real nice sabers that the Marines
Oh, yeah.
carry, right?
The sharps,
You
pointy ones.
ever see how they make those things?
Uh-uh.
They take a big piece of steel, right?
Right.
And they grab it with a clamp,
Okay.
and then they got this cauldron that's like 7,000 degrees. That's hotter than all get out, right?
Sure.
And so they stick the metal in the cauldron, and they heat it, and they heat it, and they heat it, and then they take it out, and then they dump it in a thing full of cold water right away, right? And then after they dump it in the cold water, and they put it on the anvil, and they hammer it, and they hammer it, and they hammer it, and they hammer. And you know what they do after that? They stick it back in the fire, right? They stick it back in that water and that heat, and get it hot and hot and hot. And they do this over and over and over. And when the process is finished, we see the smooth, sharp saber that the Marine is carrying around. And see, that's what you were. You were like that finished saber.
Right.
You were sharp, and you could cut on both ends. But on the way there, coming from that hunk of metal that you were, well, you had to beat yourself up a little bit. Some other people had to beat you up a little bit. But at the outside, what I'm looking at now is a saber.
Oh, and
Hey,
where
I
you're
got-
at today.
I got so much coal on Christmas, I just became coal, man. I'm still coal, and they're putting so much pressure on me in my world today that
You're
one
gonna be
of
a
these days, I'm
diamond
gonna
here
be a
soon.
diamond.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
You're a diamond in my eyes, man. How's that? Yeah. You know it's so funny because I've always said this in one of my quotes that I use is that success, and I've said it on the show before, but I think it applies so much to what you were just saying, what your experience, what we were just talking about with you, that success is not the end destination. It is the journey to the destination is the true success. It's who you become on the way to achieving that end destination. And that's what today has proven in that quote. Because you took advantage, you took control, mentally you started training your mind to accept and know that I loved myself and I shed that weight. You had this breakthrough that, listen, I'm not too young to sell. And boom, explodes Nicholas into the world. And
Oh, I forgot the other side. David replied to me. He said, "What's wrong with you? I'm afraid I'm too old."
so you guys met in the middle.
Yeah, we met in the middle.
There you go.
I read a book once called Jesus CEO. And
I've read that book. It's a great book.
Okay, there's a story in there, right?
Uh-huh.
Because, see, the tool that we need, everybody needs to be able to go just that next step. Just that next step. But how you are thinking is going to determine whether you go that next step.
Yep.
And whatever you're thinking right now, chances are the next thought is going to be just like it.
Absolutely.
So be awfully careful of what you're thinking at any given moment. Case in point. This guy bought himself a horse. It's the story of that book, right?
Yep.
This guy bought himself a horse, right? And his friends all told him that was good, right? So the next day, his son was breaking the horse and fell off the horse and broke his arm. His friends said, "Oh, man, that's bad, right?
Right.
Okay, the following day, the village was going to war. So all the other guys, their sons had to go fight battle and risk dying, but his son didn't have to go. So then his friends tell him, hey man, that's good, right?
Sure.
Okay? And the question automatically comes up, was buying a horse a good thing or was it a bad thing? And the answer is it depends upon when you came in the story.
Exactly.
When you came in the story, that's your head. Now, that's your thought process at any given moment. The idea is the end of the story is you win. That's the end of everybody's story. You
win.
Win.
Yep.
And while you are thinking about whatever it is you're dealing with right now, you have to remember you win. Because see, if you try to write the end of the story before the end of the story gets here,
It's already over.
the story's done. But knowing that you win, you're not going to be tripping about any little thing along the way.
Right.
If you're in a race and you know you're going to win,
You're going to win.
if you stub your toe, no problem. Because I'm going to win this race.
Mhm. Exactly.
Right. You know, if it starts raining, oh, no problem, man. I'm going to win this. No matter what happens, you know you're going to win the race, so you just need to keep on. So more than anything else, and I think one of those says here, but you got to take control of your thoughts.
Absolutely.
You got to own that thought and make it do what you want it to do, because if you don't have it do what you want to do, it'll run roughshod over you and do what it wants to do. And you know what your thought wants to do? Your thought wants to have Haagen-Dazs ice cream and a remote control in front of the TV. That's what it wants.
You're my thought. Give me 10.
So, which is the next one of the next points, which is make decisions mindfully.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the things that you do. And you know, real quick, I want to kind of segue back a little bit. I'm not a writer by profession. I've probably got the worst grammar and English punctuation. I've got it all up in here, right? But everybody kept telling me, oh, you won't be able to write a book. You won't be able to write a book. You won't be able to write a book. And yet I'm on my fourth book. I'm on my fourth book right now because I took action. I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove it. And I went out there and I stumbled. I fell everywhere. But now I've got my fourth book and I've got 2 more in the hopper coming. But I took action and I fumbled all the way through, but I knew and had the mindset that I was going to win.
Not only did he do that, now he's got a publishing company where he helps authors write their books. So, for instance, I've had this domain for like 8 years, right? Because I've been a web guy for a while, since '99, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I bought this domain, pursuanceofpassion.com. I figured, I want to write a book with that domain. But 8 years go by, I didn't even write the chapters. And so just with talking with Mike a few times and him consulting with me and writing my book, I'm already halfway through in taking that to the next level. And one of the quotes that I wrote in there is, success is merely a consistent and persistent pursuance of one's passion. And I feel that, to be really successful, you're absolutely right. If you write the ending to the story, it's already over. You've always got to keep it just out of reach to continue to pursue it.
As long as you're breathing, you're still in the game.
Absolutely. And I'm going to enjoy going the path of life and keep continuing to be better than I was yesterday. Right? And I'm going to continue that path. The next point is called establishing friendships that sustain you. Right? So now you've got a new set of friends, or people that have attracted to you that are complementing to what your destination and direction. Because I've had that happen several times to me in my life. The moment I made the change in who I was, I started attracting different people in my life. Case in point, Barbara Corcoran. If somebody told me 2 years ago I'd be co-authoring a book with Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, I would have laughed at him. Right? I would have said, yeah, okay, that's funny, right?
I still don't believe it.
Yeah, I'm still shaking, right? No, hey, what's this? But because of it, the people that I attracted to me, I've developed friendships, and they sustain where I'm going and what I'm doing. That led me to make that happen. Right?
And it's true, I guarantee it.
Yes, exactly. and so in your situation, you're starting to bring that people into your life and new folks there. But the last point, and this is where I want to touch you on, and I also want to have you talk about the event that's coming up.
Okay.
But the last point to the self-help tips and the number 9 tip, which I think is probably the most critical one, and I think you'll agree with me here, Victor, is that love yourself first.
Yeah. Yes, that's irrefutable. You gotta love yourself first. There's so much scuttlebutt and so much talk that's giving you grief about loving yourself. There's so much talk. You know, when you love yourself, you say good things about yourself. You treat yourself well. One of the biggest blockages to loving yourself is the people that you care about criticizing you for being selfish. Can you imagine they say to you, you're only happy when you have your way. Well, okay.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
And your point is?
Oh, and it's your fault, too.
The only reason that they say that you're selfish is because you're not doing what they want.
Right.
Loving yourself, as simple as it is not that easy, because in order to love yourself, you have to get past some obstacles. And those obstacles are the people that you care about.
They're going
In
to get
real
harder
life.
and harder and harder the closer you get to the end.
In real life, when you love yourself, you're not really trying to get anything from anybody else.
That's right.
When the people around you, when they love themselves, they're not really trying to get anything from you. I realized just recently that you know when you're approaching actual transformation, because when you're approaching transformation, you can think of nothing you want to do more than to give somebody else what you got.
Absolutely.
You can think of nothing that you want to, hey, come over here, let me tell you about this. Let me share this with you, you know. And when you get away from plugging your electrical cord into somebody else as a source, that's when you truly transform, man.
Absolutely.
And that's when you truly love yourself. And you got to love yourself, because the odd thing is that when you love yourself, the people around you tend to love you. So the thing that you really, really want, the thing that you're really trying hard for, I mean, face it, we all want people to love us. We all do. But we can't get that love by going, oh, love me, please. Oh, love me, please. Will you love me? No, you get that love by going, I love myself.
Absolutely.
I love myself. And when you say you love yourself, it'll emanate off of you, and people will start to be drawn towards you.
Well, people want to see what's burning.
It's the secret.
They want to see what the fire's about, right?
That
And they
furnace is
plug in.
going.
Absolutely. Why don't you share with the folks out in the radio world this event that's coming up? It's called The Power of Words Speaker Summit #2. Why don't you share with them on the date and where, and how folks can participate, like where they could get the tickets.
Okay, Janice Jordan is putting on this event.
Janice Jordan.
Janice has put on events before, and she's got 5 amazing speakers, and she loves that word, amazing. The type of event that it is normally would go for just under $300. But Janice, through her ability to connect with sponsors, she's got the price down to $20. It's going to be at the Dante Club in Sacramento, California. And each of these speakers has something that they specialize on. And she asked me specifically because I'm a Toastmaster. And as a Toastmaster, I'm a wordsmith. So I'm hoping that my speech is placed in just the right spot. Whether I'm first, second, third, fourth, or fifth, or what have you, I don't know. But I want to invite everybody to connect with Janice Jordan on Facebook. There's a Facebook fan page called The Power of Words. And you can get your tickets from the website, thepowerofwordssummit.com. And the 5 speakers are, I'm going to tell you who the 5 speakers are. One of them is Alicia Coco Graham.
Okay.
You know Carrie Hagen-Smith.
Yep.
Young man named Rick Hansen. And there's some guy.
Beautiful, handsome
some
guy, right?
Pretty good-looking guy. His name is Victor Irving Jenkins.
Man.
And, of course, the organizer, Janice Jordan. This event is going to be worth far more than the $20 that you have, and you will be much more empowered when you finish attending this event.
Yeah, and you can, you said it's at the Dante Club, which is 2330 Fair Oaks Boulevard in Sacramento, California, and it's the summits, it's from 1 to 5 is the summit, then there's a mixer from 5 to 7 p.m., and you can get at the tickets at powerofwords.eventsbot.com. So powerofwords.com, or excuse me, powerofwords.eventsbot.com. GettheYOUFactor.com, and you can pick up your tickets for this event. I think it's going to be a great event.
August 15th, 2014. I know it's going to be on fire.
And
Yes, it
unfortunately, I won't be here. I'll be in Hawaii. I'm doing a presentation in Hawaii,
Oh.
but I'd love to be there. I'm sad that I'm going to miss it. But you guys go.
I'll take
Let's
your
go
Hawaii
support
trip
it.
for you.
You want to? Yeah, all catered, private jet. Gotta love all that, right?
Hey.
So.
You know, Victor, I'm really happy you were on the show. You just brought a whole ball of energy and a change in my direction in loving myself. And, you know, that's something I learned today, because it's one of the things we ask each other, you know, what did you learn today?
Yeah.
And I've learned to love myself a little more.
I agree. I think the biggest thing I got out of the show today was, and it hit me, even though I know this stuff and I've been doing it for most of my life, but your subconscious, you can feed it anything. So why not feed it?
As dumb as a rock.
Yeah, it's dumb as a rock. So why don't you feed it something that's going to be positive?
Exactly.
And the radio audience, I hope you walk away with that, because that's so powerful.
Don't let your mind take over.
Exactly. You're in control of your mind. Feed it what you want it to be and who you want, you know, and like looking into that mirror, right, and telling yourself, man, you look handsome. Of course, if it answers back to you, then you may want to seek professional help. But
Well, now, the way that Zig Ziglar says that he believes in talking to yourself, okay, and you know, he said he even believes that even answering yourself is okay too.
Yeah.
But if you ever find yourself saying, huh?
Yeah, that's when you seek help. Exactly.
So when I do it, I've got different voices and different personalities start coming out. I think there's about 7 of me in there.
Then you start talking to yourself and you don't hear what you said. You got problems.
Yeah,
Well, Victor,
exactly.
thank you so much for being on the show. And again, for those of you that are listening, go to cravethespotlight.com and find out more about Victor and live broadcasts and all the stuff that he does. We've got to close out for the show. So as we close out, I know you have one last little thing you wanted to say.
One last little thing. I got a couple of businesses, so if you will text the keyword obesity to 95577, then you can get connected with me in every way, because everything starts right there. Thank you. Thank you for that moment.
Thank you so
no
much.
problem.
And hopefully we'll have you at another show very soon.
Absolutely.
Or we'd like
And
to
actually,
check out yours.
let's get Janice here in the next couple of weeks. Have her come.
Janice Jordan, are you listening? They want you. They want you.
Come on,
Janice,
Janice.
show.
Come and see us.
Well, we don't have much time, but again, remember to awaken the inner you. So, get the you factor.
Got it.
Woo!
Good show.
Figures 501.
We're good.
Oh, here.
We're out.
Awesome show, guys.